Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. Today, I'm super stoked to have Karlyn Pleasance with me. Now, I met you through our good friend Amanda. Oh my gosh, the story oracle. I don't remember her last name. Brown? Is it Brown?
Johnson.
Johnson. Okay, Amanda Johnson. I knew it was Amanda. I knew it was the story oracle. But she said I had to meet you
Oh,
and get to know you better because you were just like this amazing, awesome person. But I'm always drawn by the artwork and stuff behind you. So I keep staring at the little, are those babies? Are those Buddhas? What are those on the left? Or it's on your right side.
they're the little Buddhas, and they're the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil energy back there in the
Intriguing.
corner. Mhm.
Got you. What drew you to them?
It was actually a gift, ironically enough, from one of Amanda's sisters.
Hmm.
Got me these when I had launched my book. So it's just apropos that it comes from that side of the family, and family of storytellers and truth tellers. And
No, I love that. Are you into like the Buddhist religion, or you just that was just like a kind of cool gift, or it just certain things intrigue me?
yeah, I wouldn't say I'm into the Buddhist religion. I'm definitely spiritual. And yeah, it was a lovely gift, but I loved the theme of it. We were all gathering. I just launched my book, and we were all in just the energy of putting stories out there into the world, and what does that mean, and how do you feel now, and visibility, and all of the things that come with it. And I just thought it was like a sweet idea, like a thought of like, I don't, not speaking evil, but speaking truth,
Hmm.
and
I love that.
choosing choosing what goes into my brain.
Hmm.
Um, and not so much closing our eyes to evil, so to speak, but being open to taking in whatever is presenting itself, and doing it from a place, trying to do it from a place of acceptance and non-judging.
No, I love that. When I think a lot of times we need to put ourselves in someone else's shoes because a lot of times we don't always know what they went through, where they're at, whatever. Like you and I were just talking. We actually rescheduled this because we were supposed to meet last week, but a good friend of mine, Steve Sims, which has been on the show, so a lot of people would know, passed. So you were like, hey, no, I can meet with you this week. It's not a big deal. Like, that's fine. And I think so many times people can get what's what I use butt hurt for lack of a better term because they only think about them, but we have the world around us, and you don't ever know that person could have went through something crazy that day. So I love that concept. Is that what I've not read your book. I've heard you reference it twice, but what is your book about?
So my book is called Feathers from the Fire, and it is the story of a family's ordinary and very quiet life gets absolutely upended when they go through this kind of mysterious ordeal, and have no idea what to make of it. So it starts them on this journey to try and figure it out. And along the way, they encounter Western perspectives and native perspectives and spiritual perspectives. And all of it's in the backdrop behind all of it is the emergence of all of this, generational pain and mental illness, and buried secrets and untold stories that had really come from the generations before, and were showing up in the family at that time. and
Mm,
and just the idea of when all that shows up, and you start catching wind of like, oh my God, I had no idea that that happened. Wait, I didn't even know we had that in our family. It helps begin to make what's happening in the present day make more sense.
mhm. So
So
let me ask you this. I want to go a little bit deeper there because I think I know where my mind's going, but I want to make sure. So and I've heard of like generational trauma or past hurts or patterns that happen because of how your lives were before, for lack of better terms. Is that kind of the concept of the book behind like addiction, maybe, and great great grandfather? So now maybe you deal with it in that regard. I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding the scope.
yeah, so yeah, this is, the family in the book starts out, it's a husband and wife and their son, and they're just a very calm, kind of chill family. And they have this experience, and everybody, all three of them kind of, I don't know if fall apart is the right word, but are just completely overwhelmed with what just happened, and what does this even mean? And all of these, the patterns of how they all are attempting to cope really are extensions of unaddressed kind of truths and secrets and stories and pain from the past, almost
Mm,
like coming forward to present in the current moment. So yeah, like whether it's mental illness, trauma, or even just the idea of secrets. If we think back, like I think back in my family generations, and most people can say like there were times when people just oh, we don't talk about that.
yep, yep.
Oh, no, 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 that's not for anybody's business but ours. And that made like, okay, maybe that was how it was back then, but those things imprint and we experience them. And that happened even while I was writing. It's funny now, it's almost embarrassing. When I first met Amanda and started working on my book, I said, "Oh, it's just fiction. It's kind of a story about other people for other people." And she's like, "Oh, I bet it has actually a lot more to do with you than you think." And it did. Like just
Hmm.
going through the process and I had a big family secret emerge while I was writing this book that I had nothing I'd never heard of.
Hmm.
I mean, it was one of those surprise came out of nowhere. And then once we all started talking, realizing, oh my gosh, knowing this thing that happened in the 60s
Hmm.
makes so many things right now make sense.
Hmm.
Right? So this influence of how our beliefs, our thoughts, our identities, goals, whatever, are
Hmm.
so influenced by what came before us.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I use my own personal, like, so I'm just thinking about it. My grandfather on my dad's side cheated on my grandmother after having 7 kids and had 4 more kids with someone else. But it's instilled in my dad and me and even in my son loyalty. Like I am like the exact like I will never be that person. And again, he repented, he changed, he tried to make amends. Because people are people. I'm not making judgments, so don't hear what I'm not saying. I know life happens. Um, but I can see where that influenced my life in certain ways. And I'm like the exact opposite. I've been with my wife for 24 years. I didn't want to date anyone else. Like it was like, but I can see where the parallel was is I see what happened with that. That doesn't work for me. So I want to do X, Y, Z, you know. And that doesn't mean that it's rainbows and unicorns all the time, but I think the patterns of your life are that way. But I want to ask you this question because I love this question. Do you feel that, because I always say this, if you don't challenge your beliefs, are they really your beliefs? Is that kind of a journey you've been going on as well?
Gosh, absolutely. Like in my own, I've always been very curious and kind of introspective and like, why do I think this? And why do I feel this way? And this doesn't seem to make sense. I'm a clinical psychologist, and this has literally been the course of my career, is helping
Hmm.
people um, hopefully cultivate some curiosity and not just accept at face value this thought or this belief or this thing that I feel like I'm supposed to do. Or gosh, why do I seem so different? My family does all of this and I'm over here. Like
Hmm.
being curious about that because you'll find just like what you said with like loyalty, right? You'll find stuff. Like this, I always am saying like we got to look for the story behind the story
Hmm.
behind the story. Because things are
Yeah.
rarely, in my opinion, what they seem at first blush.
Hmm.
And back in the, peeling the layers, so to speak, when we find like, oh, I have this strong sense of loyalty, and gosh, I think this thing happened with my grandfather. It probably had some
Hmm.
influence. That's where the treasure, in my opinion, is when we can acknowledge some of those older stories that we've kind of inherited, almost like a legacy. We can learn how to be free. Like if those are messages or beliefs or tapes that aren't serving us very well. We how do we release those so we can live like by my own
Hmm.
uh, credo?
Yeah. When I think people just get scared of that because most people don't leave their hometown. Most people are 20 miles within their hometown. And then there's people like us. I'm just going to throw you in, I'm just assuming that just changed the norm of our lives. Like I've moved my family from Michigan to Texas, then from Texas to Arizona, like 2,000 mile cross country moves. We've done a lot of different stuff. Like I'm the black sheep and I proudly wear it. Like I'm always challenging things because I want to know, do I really believe this or was this just bestowed on me? But it took me a long time. The first 34 years of my life, I was 100% convinced. 100%. And then I realized, okay, maybe this isn't. 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 And then I realized, okay, maybe this isn I'm this way because that's what I'm supposed to do. I had to do blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, it just like it didn't make sense. Did you ever have like an epiphany moment like that where you're just like, why am I doing this?
Oh, yeah. In fact, it's funny you bring that up because I've done this personal kind of work my whole life. I'm intrigued by it. And it's not like it's never done. There's always some other little
Right.
thing that's going to show up. But just this last spring, I was working on some writing and um, I was like a kind of writing blah. I'm like, God, I don't know. I thought this was going to be really easy and it is not. And I kind of just gently pushed through it, but then had this massive, like epiphany level awareness of this like really old story that I was still living out present day.
Hmm.
And it was almost like, here's my present day story. And then there's this story that I kind of thought was way like over and done in the past. And realizing, no, this story was absolutely driving this one. And once I had kind of made the connection, it felt like an epiphany. And I mean, it was like a collision
Hmm.
of like, how can I be my age right now and have done all this work and work in this capacity with other people? And this one was just hanging out in my blind spot.
Hmm.
So yeah, but I love that because then to me, it's like, oh, it just like opens these doors to yeah, freedom, choice, consent, whatever you want to call it, that because I didn't realize how much it was still kind of oppressing me in
Hmm.
some way. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I
I
love
think it comes, yeah, no, I love it. I think it comes down to a lot of people might not like it, but it's true. Find out what works for you. What is your truth? And I know people are like, well, there's truth. Well, yes, there are certain truths. Like there's laws that if you throw an apple up, it's going to fall down. Okay, cool. But there's other things that have nuances with it that what's working for you. And then I think because once we start to challenge our beliefs and maneuver into it, we can't change everything overnight. That would just wreck our system. But like you said, I had this one spot that I didn't even realize, but I bet you if you hadn't done the work before, you would never gotten to that spot. So I think it's just the journey there. Um, but going back, and we can keep on this flow with the book and everything, is that kind of why, what made you write the book? Because you're a clinical psychologist, I believe is what you said, and you've been helping people with it just like you just decided to write a story, or how did you even, that's the two different things. So I'm
it's
intrigued.
I mean, I'm still intrigued how this happened. That was never in my plan. It was never one of these, I'm going to write a book someday. It just
Hmm.
wasn't. And I had just sold my previous business. I mean, not just, I sold it in 2017, but it was right after that. So I was in this transition from owning and operating this treatment center to now being a consultant for the same treatment center and very different, right? Very different roles, demands. It was great. Gave me a lot more freedom and availability, but I found myself like, God, what am I gonna do with this extra time and whatnot? And I kid you not, I'm driving to work on the freeway, just kind of in my head thinking, oh, maybe I'll this, maybe I'll that. And it was like the idea, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, like just emerged in my head, like it like dropped
Hmm.
into my head. Oh, how about you write a book? And how about it be about this? And it was like in an instant. And
Hmm.
I drove, I was, maybe 10 minutes away from work. I got there, I walked right into one of my colleagues' offices and I said, I have to tell you something because I feel like if I don't say it out loud, it's going to like
Hmm.
disappear. So I said, I just have a thought about writing a book. Her response was, of course you're going to write a book. I'm like, wait, did you know this before me? But not like a textbook, not a
Right.
how-to book, not a this is what you do in psychology. No, it's fiction.
Hmm.
I mean,
No,
it's
I love that.
yeah. So it was this a divine inspiration,
Hmm.
and I started right away, and
Yeah.
it was
Well, but I think something happens here too, because like I am a sales expert. I close for Fortune 50 companies, Fortune 100. Like I've been in sales for a long time. So everyone thinks, oh, I could write a sales book. I don't want to write a sales book. I don't care about writing a sales book. But I was talking to our mutual friend. I've been writing fantasy for a long time, like medieval fantasy, historical fiction and all. And in 2019, 2020, I wrote a short story called Firebirth, which is just about a Irish girl getting picked up during the Viking raids in the 1800s. And at first, it was going to start out with just being about the dude, and it totally shifted. And it's just like you said, it just dropped in my head. I'm like, holy cow, this is interesting. And I think sometimes we just have to be willing to go with it. I had like 700 or so people following me on Facebook for a while with it. Amanda and I talked about maybe making that into an actual book instead of just a short story. But it's interesting, I think, when you start to open your mind to possibility and people see things in you that you don't see in yourself. And I'm like, I'm just going to write the story for fun because I was watching a show called The Last Kingdom. Threw it down the line and people are like, I want more. I'm like, okay. And I just dove into it. But then when you dive into it, it's like you almost get into that world. And
Yeah.
it's just like, not, well, maybe an escape's a good thing, but it's like seeing the world through a different thing. But here's my question. I know that was a long-winded way to do it. I think with fiction, you can explore things a lot more risque or in detail or in differences because you're like, hey, this is made up instead of like, this is a real book and I'm using my real stuff or like
Yeah.
me, you know. What are your thoughts on that? That you think fiction's easier to write because of that, or
Absolutely. I loved writing this book. And I would say it there's definitely a like a magical realism. It's a little tiny historical fiction, but it brings in some of these kind of unseen forces and unseen mysteries. Um, in a way that's really kind of fun and creative um and it leaves it open to the reader. The reader gets to decide, like, do I believe in this? Do I think this can really happen? Is this kind of woo-woo? I don't know. But
Mhm.
but it takes the reader on a bit of a journey into the idea of possibilities. But what if? What if there is divine intercession? What if synchronicity is all around us? And if we just kind of listen and are open to the signs and the nudges, we'll stay on our path. What if? And some people are going to be like, no, 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 not that. But I love it. I mean, I love fantasy and sci-fi, and I mean, I've been reading since I could, since I could.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
my favorite books were always the ones that added a little bit of mysticism and like, like the inexplicable. So you get
Hmm.
to decide what you think it is.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I know people are like screaming probably at the thing. What is the name of your book?
Feathers from the Fire is, I have it
And we
right.
would drop this into, I'm assuming you have Amazon or you have a link, so we would definitely drop that in the show notes. I do want to shift to this now because I am intrigued by, if you look at the back of my wall, I have a bunch of business books. I have a bunch of fantasy books. In fact, the one I'm reading right now is this one, which is pretty good. I don't know if you've read this one or not. Um, it's similar to like it's got a Robert Jordan Tolkien kind of
Yeah.
vibe, which I love. And I'm weird. If a book doesn't have over like 400 pages, I normally won't pick it up because I want a real long story. I'm that weird guy. What type of fantasy books? I know you said you like fantasy. Do you have like a top five that you can name or a couple?
Well, I love Jordan for sure. And the saga, I'm reading it right now. I can't think of the person's name, but like Fire and Ice, Tolkien, of course. And
Hmm.
same, like I think back to like I read the Game of Thrones books long before Game of Thrones came
Yep,
around.
yep. I was doing it too. Yep.
Um, and same, big old hefty book where you're like having to stop every three sentences because you're like, what, okay, what family does this person belong to? And how do you say this name? And, but there's something, like for me, it's immersive. I drop
Hmm.
into, um, these, worlds
Yeah.
and the family lines and the storylines, and again the ones that bring a little bit of mysticism in there, like did you ever read the Shadow of the Wind, Carlos Zafon?
Mm-mm.
It's a trill actually, I think it's four books. It's a trilogy called the Forgotten Library or something like that. But it's the same thing. It's like deep in the bowels of Barcelona in the past and all these
Oh,
like,
nice.
yeah. But so yeah, I love reading. I like to escape into
Hmm.
it. This is oh here, this is what it looks
Oh,
like.
sweet. Perfect. Yeah, and we would
It's a big
definitely
one.
drop this into the show notes so that people can definitely get a copy and do that. So my next question is, you wrote one. Are
Mhm.
you writing the next book?
I am. I am. And it is the distant prequel to this one.
Oh,
So
nice.
when I had originally had this idea, it
Mhm,
was going to be like this kind of dual timeline that was going to just weave in and out of the story. And when I finally connected with Amanda and we went over everything I was planning, she thought, I think this would be better as two books.
mhm.
Also, you probably don't want it to be like 1,000 pages. Like, probably.
Yeah.
So I kind of pulled the stories apart and wrote the one that's set in modern time, which is this one. And then the other one, they're going to be standalone. You don't have to read
Mhm.
one to read the other, but it's the a similar kind of story, but set during in England during the witch hunting craze.
Oh, nice. No, I
So
love that. I think that's cool. Yeah, because when you said that at first, I'm like, oh, is it like an Outlander thing? Different timelines. And then I'm like, oh no, she's up. I got it. Cool. I
yeah.
I love the whole. I'm big into world building. Like
Mhm.
I've wrote stories for a long time just for fun. Like I never even thought to put them online. I just would write kind of as an out. And then as I got going, I started putting some more stuff online. Um, I think it's just a good creative escape, which I love. So, are you eventually just want to be a full-time author, or are you gonna and just get away from all the other practice stuff that you're doing?
I'm actually I've been retiring my private practice, and
Mhm.
that's almost done. And then I own and help operate a treatment center, a mental health treatment center, as an advisor.
Mhm.
And that I could do. I mean, I could do that indefinitely. The folks who are there and kind of boots on the ground running the program are people I've worked with forever. I have a
Mhm.
lot of faith and trust in them. So I'm kind of an on-call consultant advisor when
Love
something
it.
comes up. And like for me, that's fine by me. I do a lot of speaking. I'll keep that because I
Mhm.
do like it. But otherwise, writing and gardening is the
Yeah.
other thing.
No, I love that. But the whole premise, and I'm sure Amanda told you, the whole premise of this show is just waking up to a life you love living. There's no rules. You can be a multimillionaire, you can make 40,000 a year as long as you're happy with it. It's not money, it's the time you spend, how you grow, what you build. And I normally talk with super successful people, so don't hear not saying I don't think rich people are bad. Most of the people I know are wealthy, are nice people. Just like any group can have good and bad. But it's like I love what you said there. I can be a consultant here. I can speak on stages, use my gifting there, but then I get to do what I want to do because time is precious. And I think that's something that most people don't realize till you get into your 40s. Like I'm in my 40s. I never guess. I say women stop at 28. We'll just say you're 28. If you
Yep.
don't like that number, you can put whatever number you want. Don't care. Um, but when you get into your 40s, you start having people in your high school pass. Like I know my sister passed of a rare cancer. It's just really like you begin to value life a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And, just I grew up in a household that was, pretty chaotic and there wasn't a lot of freedom. Freedom to stretch a little bit or sometimes even have opinions, or it was, very close and closed. And so I think it was always in my bones as I grew up and started branching out a little bit, went to college and whatnot, of like, oh, I need a felt sense of freedom.
Mhm.
I work hard, I do all the things, but inside, I need to not feel like I'm doing things out of obligation,
Yep.
but
Yep.
twice.
I
Uh,
love that. I love that. So before I let you go, is there anything we haven't touched on? Like I told you when we started out, this is quick, fast, and fun. But is there
yeah.
anything else that you wanted to talk about or any words of wisdom you want to leave to our listeners?
Well, I appreciate meeting you and being on here, and I feel like we have like some like-mindedness
Hmm.
around authenticity and freedom and releasing that from the past, that which no longer serves, taking risks, being willing to. I always like to say I just like to challenge the status quo a little
Hmm.
bit. Because I just wholeheartedly believe that there's always some other story behind the story that we're telling ourselves right now. And when we're willing and sometimes, brave or courageous enough to like dive in and see what's there. I really do think that that becomes like in my mind, I visualize it as the street lamps come on,
Mhm.
right? Like, oh, boom, 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 boom. There's the path. I had no idea it was right in front of me. But we got to lift a little bit of that out of the way. So I appreciate that you are bringing that into the world as well. And um, yeah, it's great. Thank you. It's been really
Oh,
fun.
no, I love it. When you said that, I thought Narnia because of the lamps in Narnia. Sorry. My mind goes to that type of stuff.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
appreciate you being on the show. And for all you listening, push the mode. Figure out what works for you and live your life as authentically as possible because we only get one life to live. So you might as well not be miserable doing stuff other people want you to do that does not fulfill you. And until next time, send this to someone you know that needs to hear it, and we'll talk.